Hi, my name is David Matthew Brown, and I am the Deathwalker. I want to share with you the moment that I died and I was brought back to this planet. So let me just set up the story. I was a full-time working actor in Hollywood. My concerns, my worries, my anxieties, all that stuff was intertwined with where my next audition would come from, when I'd be working next. I spent a lot of time ambitiously going from audition to audition. There's a lot of kind of nervous energy, a lot of worry, not a lot of trust yet. I was young. I didn't have a good support system around me. And here I was at Century City Mall, choking on a chicken bone. And everything went completely dark. I felt like I was in this massive void. The best way I can describe it is like a mother's womb. So I'm in this kind of mother's womb, which is like unconditionally loving and infinite peace. Felt really good. Some light starting to stream in, but just in this void. I had no body. I was just in this void and it felt great. It felt really, really good. There's no constraints. All these kind of negative things that I was feeling before that no longer existed. And really the truth, like people talk about, is peace. And we look at peace in our culture as a weakness. And we look at war as a strength. But in order to have power over something, you also have to have weapons. And if you need a weapon to say that you're powerful and that you're strong, then that's not true power. Now, is that to put down soldiers or people that work with weaponry? No, because that's the way that our society is developed right now. And I'm just putting the contrast between peace within ourselves, and then there's a peace outside of ourselves. And so most people think that we have to maintain the peace, right? That's different. That comes from an exertion of will, comes from an exertion of power over something. The type of peace that I'm talking about is the type of peace that when I came back into my body, what was troubling was the ambition that I had for acting at that moment. And all those worries and negativities and doubts and all that stuff fell away. And so I was just in this space of peace. Inward peace. Well, that's troublesome because how, from a state of peace then, do you make a life here on this three-dimensional planet? What do? And so I would continue from that point on to act and do some work. And then I started to find myself fascinated by The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And waking up and meditating and praying, and then going to bed at night and meditating and praying. All to keep and maintain the peace within inside myself, which is a superpower, to be peaceful. Because being at peace, you don't have to wait till you die, where we say rest in peace. And all of a sudden I was at peace. What was I at peace with? That was the main thing. And it took a while, it took many years for me to understand what had happened, because it didn't make sense to me. Why would I be brought back here to this planet, to this body, if there wasn't some sort of plan? So I found myself at peace with death, because I had been to the other side, and I'm just sharing my experience. Everybody has different experiences. There was no lights. I wasn't floating over forests. I was just kind of in this waiting spot. And so that's how I feel like I'm at service to people, is when I work with people that are dying, or I work with couples that have lost a child, or when I work with people in general that have lost a partner. The deeper aspect of my listening comes from what I would like to call maybe the soul, to be a soul listener, that I'm listening from my soul, because I went to the other side and came back. So I know that the actual death itself, you won't feel. Now, people may see you struggling and going through all kinds of just different things, but the moment of your actual death, you won't feel. It just kind of brings you to the other side. Because that's what happened to me. It slipped me over to the other side with ease and grace. And when I went to the other side, I was embraced by so much love. Like an unconditional mother's love, that no matter what, that love is there for you with no judgment, no condemnation, no degradation, no humiliation, none of that, just pure love. And it felt good. So we are on this space. These dialogues that we're having with each other are about the idea and concepts and philosophies and religions and maybe even political views, or whether you believe or you don't believe, or what's on the other side and nobody knows, and we're all kind of making it up, and there's all these half-truths and no truths, and people want to believe all this stuff. So I can only share from, again, my experience. And in my experience, especially watching people, that when death comes, and it will come for all of us, we don't know when. We have no idea. None of us do. That we are not only ready, but that we are prepared, that we had lived a full life. Not a life where we're hoarding, not a life where we're putting people down, not a life where we're afraid of losing something, not a life where we're afraid of losing a partner or a family member or friends, that we are solely living, that we are spiritual beings on this planet, energetic beings, that we are beings. So it doesn't even matter if you have a religion. The idea is that we are human beings, that our job is to be where we are, and faith is complete and unadulterated trust, not in the mind, but in our intuition, in our hearts. Right? It's like when you sit with fishermen and they're fishing, and all of a sudden they get up and go. They go to another spot, and that's where they catch the fish. My grandpa used to be that way, right? We'd move all around, all kinds of places, and then we'd find a spot where we would catch the limit, right? I would like to think that he wasn't in his mind, that he was trusting nature, that he was trusting himself in nature. And so today, when we go about our day, can we go about this day literally with a heart of gratitude? Can we go without always doing the same thing, having the same reactions, living the same life, hoarding onto everything like something's going to come and it's all going to be gone, and then who are we when it's gone? Can we be open to the idea that life is bigger than us, and we are part of life? And we look at trees, there are trees that are all individual aspects of an energy that is expressing itself through us, in us, as us. Same with the trees, same with our animals. That you are life, that you are life-giving. So as a life-giving creature, as a life-giving being, what are you giving? Can you give without wanting anything in return, or do you have to tell everybody about it? Can you hug and embrace people without judging them? Can you forgive people, realizing that they were just doing what they knew was best at that time? And so are you. Can you let go of your resentments? Can you do all of this stuff while making the intention that you want to be peaceful inside, that you're tired of the war that is happening inside of you, the battle in your mind? The last thing I'm going to leave you with is Dr. David Hawkins did research, and they did research on the brain. So your brain actually is 98% silent, and there's 2% noise, and that 2% noise is what we call the ego, which is always about yourself. Right? That's where arrogance comes from, because people are attached to their ego. So everything is about them. Everything. You tell a story, you share an experience, it's about them. Are you saying that because it's about me? That type of thing? So maybe today, without focusing on that little voice that is constantly talking about yourself all day long, maybe begin to focus on the space around you and the silence. And see if when you're in that silent space, maybe some insights will happen. And so this is a death, right? No longer listening to your little small-minded ego that wants to be right all the time, that wants to control, that is scared, that is nervous, that is worried, that is in fear, that is constantly like being passive-aggressive or manipulating or deceiving, or doesn't trust anybody, or doesn't trust themselves, or doesn't trust people, or doesn't trust situations, and always thinks people are lying and guilty and judging and shaming and humiliating and degrading and hating and killing and warring and all kinds of stuff. All the ideas that our culture is based on is your ego, right? An egoic God. So can you die to that aspect of yourself and fall into the bigger aspect that you are a spiritual being on this planet having a human adventure, and give yourself a break? I am David Matthew Brown, and I am the Deathwalker. Thank you for joining me. God bless.